Continued violence in Syria, concerns from LGBT advocates over the Trump administration's policies, and defiance from the Middle Eastern community in Dearborn. All these stories and more coming up in today's broadcast. Good afternoon, Walled Lake. I'm Peter Fargo from PAF News, coming in live to give you this week's segment of 5-Minute Global Recap, where we cover stories from across the globe and news closer to home. Starting off by heading over to Syria. Under pressure from fellow insurgents and escalating airstrikes by the US-led coalition, Syria's al-Qaeda branch is stepping up violence against President Bashar Assad's stronghold with precise, high-profile attacks, including a surprising breach of the capital and the most serious infiltration in years. Sunday's attack, in which insurgents used tunnels they control in northeastern Damascus neighborhoods to hit government positions, appears to have caught the Syrian military off guard. It was a grim reminder that the fighting is far from over, despite significant advances by Assad's forces against rebels across the country in the past year. Syria isn't the only country in a dangerous position. Romania's president says the country will send 120 air defense troops to support NATO's presence in Poland amid unease about Russia's interventions in Ukraine. Speaking after a meeting of the country's top defense council, President Klaus Johannes said Tuesday that the troops would be deployed for 6 months to boost security and assist Polish troops in crisis and conflict situation. The measure was agreed upon at the NATO summit in Warsaw last year and is part of an Operation Atlantic resolve to reassure allies after Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. Fighting seems imminent for NATO, but in the United States, sentencing for a case of racial violence is coming to a close. The only person with whom Dylan Roof shared his racist plot to massacre worshipers at a historically black South Carolina church was sentenced Tuesday to 27 months in prison for failing to report a crime and for lying to the FBI. Joey Meeks cried at sentencing Tuesday in Charleston by the same federal judge who presided over Roof's trial, which ended in January with Roof being sentenced to death for the slaughter of 9 people at Emmanuel AME Church. The sentencing has reminded Americans of the tragic massacre, and actions by the Trump administration have reminded the LGBT community that their fight is not over. LGBT advocates are questioning the Trump administration's quiet deletion of questions on sexuality from 2 federal surveys. Combined with the withdrawal of another planned survey evaluating the effectiveness of a homelessness project for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth, the moves have alarmed watchdogs who worry they may point to a manipulation of government data collection to serve the ideology of a government they view as hostile to their causes. Folks, it's now time to switch it up with this week's segment of Peter's Perspective, where I give you my take on your news. Please note that the following views are only expressed by myself and do not reflect on the news station, PAF News. In light of the recent actions by the Trump administration, everyone needs to remember that this isn't the first time that America has made progress with civil rights and then forgotten about that progress and failed to continue that progress. We saw this with the progression of black rights in the United States. After the 13th Amendment and slavery was abolished, many people thought that the fight for black rights was over, but anyone who has studied history knows that is far from the truth. Even today, centuries after the decision, discrimination against the black community still occurs. The legalization of gay marriage is similar to the 13th Amendment in that people got too excited about it and forgot about the other rights of the LGBT community that need to be protected, such as the discrimination from work, schools, charities, and even hospitals. It might be tempting to forget that we still need to make progress. However, progress is still imminent and we need to continue to fight for the rights of LGBT members. That's all the time we have for my perspective this week. If you want to voice your own opinion, tweet with the hashtag #PAFNews. Heading back into our regularly scheduled local news with a bold declaration from a Muslim woman in Dearborn, Zahar Balam isn't white and she certainly isn't some other race. If the government gives her the choice of checking a new Middle East North America box on a census form, would she? Yes, she says, despite some reservations about what it would mean to stand out after Americans elected a president who wants to ban travel from some countries in the region and has spoken favorably of registering Muslims in the United States. Charging into this week's sports section with football, the mystery of Tom Brady's missing Super Bowl jersey led police all the way to Mexico, and authorities were investigating a former tabloid newspaper executive's possible role in the theft. Police and the NFL announced Monday that Brady's jersey was found. Although the Brady jersey has been found, so has spring. The weather has warmed up this week, and it's time to get out to bring your winter coats to the closet. I'm Peter Fargo, signing off.
5